Rome was not destroyed by barbarians first. It was changed from the inside. Before Rome became a land of fear, it was a city of hope. Before emperors became monsters, they were meant to protect the people. So the real question is not who became cruel. The real question is why power in Rome always turned human men into something else. To understand Rome's deadliest secret, we must go back to the very beginning. To a time when Rome did not want a king. A time when Romans feared one thing more than death itself: absolute power. Rome began as a republic. Power was divided. No single man ruled alone. 2 consuls were elected every year. The Senate advised. The people voted. Even generals were watched closely. This system was slow, but it was safe. Romans believed shared power kept men honest. They believed no one should rule too long, because they knew what happens when power has no limits. But Rome did not stay small. It grew through war. Each victory brought land, wealth, and slaves. And with growth came pressure. The republic was not built to rule an empire. Decisions took too long. Corruption spread. Generals became famous. Soldiers became loyal to men, not to Rome. This was the first crack. Ambitious leaders learned a dangerous lesson. If you control the army, you control the state. Laws became tools. Traditions became obstacles. Julius Caesar did not invent this problem. He exposed it. Caesar crossed the Rubicon and broke the old rules. He took power by force but claimed it was for Rome's good. The people loved him. The Senate feared him. When Caesar was killed, Rome did not return to peace. It fell into chaos. Civil war followed. Friends turned into enemies. Rome was tired. The people wanted order. They wanted stability. They wanted one strong leader. This is how the idea of the emperor was born. Augustus was careful. He did not call himself king. He did not destroy the Senate. He kept old titles alive. But behind the mask, Augustus held everything. The army, the money, the laws. Power was no longer shared. It was concentrated. First, it worked. Rome entered a golden age. Roads were built. Peace returned. Trade expanded. This success hid the danger. Because absolute power does not change a system overnight. It changes people slowly. The emperor stood above the law. No court could judge him. No vote could remove him. No rival could challenge him without dying. At first, emperors tried to act modest. They spoke of duty. They spoke of service. They spoke of Rome. But every decision reminded them of one truth. They could do anything. Power like this reshapes the mind. When no one can say no, advice becomes silence. When no one can punish you, fear disappears. When everyone depends on your favor, loyalty becomes fake. The palace became a cage of lies. Emperors could trust no one. Family members became threats. Friends became suspects. Even guards could turn against them. This constant fear created paranoia, and paranoia creates cruelty. To stay safe, emperors removed rivals early. Executions became normal. Exile became mercy. Suspicion became policy. Each emperor inherited more power than the last, but also more danger. Rome never created a clear rule for succession. There was no fixed system, no peaceful transfer of power. Every death of an emperor was a gamble. Sons were poisoned. Brothers were murdered. Generals rebelled. The army chose sides. This uncertainty forced emperors to rule through fear. Fear kept rivals quiet. Fear kept the Senate obedient. Fear kept the city calm. But fear also destroyed humanity. The emperor was no longer a man. He was a symbol, a living god to some, a monster to others. Public life became theater. Games were staged. Punishments were displayed. Violence became entertainment. This was not random cruelty. It was control. When people fear punishment, they obey. When they are distracted by blood, they stop asking questions. Power also isolated emperors from reality. They lived behind walls. Servants spoke carefully. Reports were filtered. Truth was dangerous. An emperor could believe lies and never know it. He could think he was loved while being hated. He could feel powerful while being alone. This isolation damaged judgment. Some emperors became cruel by choice. Others became cruel by survival. Rome rewarded strength. Weakness was punished. Mercy was seen as risk. Over time, brutality became normal. The Senate changed too. Once proud and powerful, it became submissive. Senators learned to flatter. They learned to survive. This removed another limit on power. When lawmakers fear the ruler, law becomes meaningless. Religion added another layer. Emperors were worshipped. Temples were built. Sacrifices were offered. Being treated as divine changes how a man sees himself. If you are a god, why follow human rules? This belief justified cruelty. Punishment became destiny. Deaths became necessary. The empire also depended on conquest. War shaped Roman thinking. Enemies were crushed. Rebellion was destroyed. This mindset moved inward. Citizens were treated like conquered lands. Control mattered more than justice. By the time Rome realized the danger, it was too late. Absolute power had become tradition. The empire could not exist without it. Removing it would cause collapse. So Rome accepted the monster it created. Not every emperor was evil, but the system pushed them toward inhuman behavior. Power without limits does not test character. It reveals its breaking point. This is the rise of Rome's deadliest secret. A system that demanded control, fear, and dominance. A throne that slowly erased humanity. And as this power grew stronger, the men who sat upon it began to change even more. Because once power reshapes the mind, the next step is something darker. Power does not arrive with chains. It arrives with praise. By the time a Roman emperor realized he was trapped, his humanity was already slipping away. At first, the throne felt like control. But slowly, it became isolation. And isolation became madness. This is where Rome's deadliest secret reveals its final form. Because power did not just rule the empire. It ruled the mind. When a man became emperor, his world changed overnight. Every room fell silent when he entered. Every word he spoke became law. Every glance was studied for meaning. Nothing was normal anymore. An emperor could not walk the streets alone. He could not trust laughter. He could not trust kindness. Was it loyalty or fear? Over time, this question consumed them. Power removed honesty first. No one told the emperor bad news directly. Messengers softened the truth. Advisors twisted facts. Servants agreed with everything. Reality became blurred. When an emperor made a mistake, no one corrected him. When he showed anger, no one challenged it. So anger grew. A small insult felt like treason. A rumor felt like rebellion. Silence felt dangerous. This is how suspicion was born. Roman emperors lived with constant threats. Assassination was common. Poison was easy. Daggers were close. Many emperors knew how their predecessors died. Stabbed by guards. Smothered in beds. Poisoned by family. So fear ruled before cruelty did. To survive, emperors struck first. Friends were removed. Relatives were killed. Generals were executed. Not because they acted, but because they might. Power teaches one lesson very fast. If you hesitate, you die. This fear reshaped behavior. Mercy became weakness. Forgiveness became risk. Trust became impossible. Cruelty felt safer. Public punishment became common. Executions became spectacles. Pain became a message. Do not challenge the throne. Crowds gathered to watch death. The Colosseum was filled with blood. The emperor watched from above. Not for pleasure alone, but for control. Violence reminded everyone who ruled. Over time, the emperor stopped seeing people as individuals. They became numbers. Faces blurred together. Lives felt cheap. This loss of empathy is key. When you decide life and death daily, death stops feeling real. Another force pushed emperors further. Praise. Constant praise distorts the soul. Poets wrote lies. Statues showed perfection. Crowds shouted divine titles. Some emperors were called gods while alive. Imagine hearing that every day. Imagine never being questioned. Imagine believing it. Power mixed with worship is dangerous. If you believe you are divine, human suffering feels distant. Punishment feels justified. Obedience feels natural. This belief erased limits. Some emperors demanded worship. Others punished refusal. Faith became loyalty. Religion became a weapon. The palace itself deepened the problem. Emperors lived behind walls. Gold, guards, and silence surrounded them. They rarely saw real Rome. Only reports. Only ceremonies. Only staged loyalty. This separation destroyed perspective. They no longer understood hunger. They no longer felt fear like normal men. They no longer lived like humans. They ruled like symbols. Power also removed consequences. An emperor could not be arrested. He could not be judged. He could not be voted out. Mistakes had no cost. When actions have no limits, behavior loses balance. Some emperors tested boundaries, then pushed them, then erased them. Killing became easy. Punishment became creative. Cruelty became personal. Not all emperors started evil. Many began with good intentions. But the system rewarded darkness. If you were kind, rivals grew bold. If you were strict, enemies stayed quiet. If you were feared, you survived. Fear became policy. Succession made everything worse. Rome never solved one problem. Who comes next? Every emperor worried about replacement. Sons, brothers, adopted heirs. Anyone could become a threat. This turned families into battlefields. Mothers poisoned sons. Sons killed fathers. Wives plotted quietly. Love did not survive the throne. Paranoia ruled daily life. Even guards were not trusted. Even sleep felt dangerous. Some emperors stopped sleeping well. Some trusted no one. Some lashed out randomly. Mental strain broke them. Power without rest becomes poison. As years passed, emperors grew detached. They laughed at suffering. They ignored screams. They ordered death without emotion. The crowd saw monsters, but Rome created them. The empire demanded strength, punished softness. It rewarded fear. In this world, humanity was a weakness. When emperors lost empathy, they gained control, and Rome accepted it. The people feared chaos more than cruelty. They preferred order over justice. They tolerated monsters to avoid war. This acceptance completed the transformation. Because when cruelty is normal, it spreads. Officials copied behavior. Governors abused power. Soldiers acted without mercy. The empire reflected the throne. By the end, emperors were trapped. They could not step down. They could not soften. They could not escape. Power had consumed them. They ruled until death, often violent, often sudden. And when they fell, another rose to take their place. The cycle continued. This is Rome's deadliest secret. Not madness alone, not evil alone, but a system that removed limits, rewarded fear, and erased humanity. Power did not turn emperors inhuman overnight. It did it slowly, quietly, completely. And once the throne changed a man, there was no way back. Only silence, only blood, only history watching. If the story changed how you see power, stay with this channel. Subscribe for more hidden history, like the video to support this work, and press the bell so you never miss the next Truth Rome left behind.